All right, boys. It's halftime. Guess you're just watching this shit on YouTube. See if someone shows up. This is the lottery, guys. It's big time, very big time. You guys are gonna finally see what it means when we keep saying lottery. Right now, I'm the only one that really knows because I built it. I learned Python specifically just to do it. Okay. Overview. Every team has a chance to get the first overall pick. Easy. The worse the team, the better the odds. Also easy. This one starts getting weird. Teams that get eliminated from playoffs in the same week have an equal chance. Yanni, that means like regardless of what your place is relative to the other guy that got eliminated at the same time, it doesn't matter for the lottery. However, it will matter for you're not picking at the same time. So whoever gets the 6th versus the 5th or the 10th versus the 9th, that's where your record actually comes into play. It's tank proof. Yeah. I mean, besides for that thing I just mentioned, it's more or less tank proof. We finally got tank proof league. So these are the hypothetical rankings. For the purposes of explanation, we are going to just say that the tier 4 teams, the teams that didn't make the playoffs, are like based off of fictional sports teams. LeBron James Toon Squad, like Space Jam, but with LeBron. The Flint Tropics, the Mighty Ducks, and the Replacements, the one with Keanu Reeves. Yeah, so those guys are like the non-playoff teams. They suck. Not as good. Next, we got the tier 3. I call this the Adam Sandler tier. So it's Mud Dogs with South Central Louisiana State University. And then the Longest Yard Prison team, because those guys are pretty good, but they're not championship teams. Because one's from a shitty college and the other one's just a prison team. Next, tier 2, these are your they're very good, but they didn't win the championship. They're very good, not championship teams. You got Sandlot and you got the Jordan Toon Squad. Much better than LeBron Toon Squad. And then finally, tier 1, these are your teams that are going to win the championship, but they're going to have to go through each other. You got the Average Joes dodgeball team and the Bench Warmers, obviously the best. So it doesn't matter if you're better than the other guys, if you're in a tier, you have the same standing. How the lottery works. Every team is allocated a certain number of points depending on the tier. So like the tiers we just said. So the points for the shittiest teams get 400 and then it goes down to 1 point. So the Python script picks a random point. Let's say you have 400 or 1, it'll pick a random one and it assigns that team first position. So first pick, and then the chosen team's points are erased from the script and it repeats, and then you get to pick the next. So what happens is now that let's say the 400 points are missing because the shittiest team got picked, now you redraw from the sum of the total remaining points. Easy stuff. After the 3 picks remaining in the draft order, it just goes in order. Okay, more stuff. We got some math. We got PT, the probability of a team T is equal to the points T, N T, divided by the sum of all the N of the instances from 1 to I. So N is not like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, N represents the points of instance I, which is 1 to 10, and there's 10 teams. For the next team, PT, the team, subtract from R, which is the previous pick, the previously picked. So the first overall, so now we're looking at the second overall spot. You could tell by the amount of subscripts on the P. You have the same N of T, the same points for the team remaining, and then the sum of the total points minus the points of the team that just got picked. And then you see it again, more math for the third one. Bang, bang, bang. Points team, more math. Very nice. Okay, how it works, example. So now we're going to go look at a case study of the Mighty Ducks. Remember, they're a shitty team. They're not a playoff team. So we look at the total points. So the total points is equal to 4 times the tier 4 points teams, 2 times tier 3, 2 times tier 2, 2 times tier 1, and you get 1,662 total points. So their first pick chance is easy. You have their 400 points for the Mighty Ducks divided by the total points, and they get a 24.07% chance. So now that's easy. Second pick starts getting crazy. So let's say the first team to get the first overall pick went to a tier 4 team, so that our chance is 31.7. And then let's say the tier 3 team, so a playoff team, but like they lost in the first round, got first overall. Now we subtracting it from 400 divided by total points minus tier 3 points, which was 25. You don't remember. As you see, the probability goes down because you're still competing with the other 3 non-playoff teams. Finally, if you lost to a tier 2 team, the odds go down even more, but it got much less of a difference. So it's a tier 2 team, and you're only subtracting the 5 points. And if you lost to a tier 1 team, the odds pretty much don't change. It's like you have the same 24, I think it turned out 24.08%. So it's the same odds. Now let's say you want the third pick. You didn't get the first 2, you want the third. So now let's say you lost to 2 tier 4 teams and you're still the Mighty Ducks. So let's say LeBron Toon Squad and the replacements got over you. Now you have 46.4% chance to get it. So you and the other team are pretty much have all the odds. Next, you have let's say you lost to a tier 4 team and a tier 3 team. Notice it's not which order, because the way it works is that the order actually doesn't matter. Because if you go back to the formula, it was a subtraction thing. It wasn't like a multiplication thing where the odds, you're multiplying the new odds by the old odds. Since you're subtracting the sum of the total points, it doesn't actually change anything because you could subtract in any order. Let's say you lost to a tier 4 team and a tier 3 team, you have 32%, and then it gets lower, and you're going to see it keeps getting lower. Over here, it gets lower because the sum of the total points of the teams that lost are going to be subtracted, but you're still doing 400 minus total points minus the teams that already got picked. So you're going to see as the number of total points remaining keep going up, that keeps going down. And if you lose to tier 1 teams, again, the odds pretty much don't change. Go back to the previous slide and you have the same exact odds, more or less. So some more math. We're going to use this math if we want to look at specifics, case studies of like certain scenarios and probabilities and how often something will happen, not happen. We first use set builder notation. So we're going to say the probability of A, which is an event. So let's say first, which team gets first overall, or which team gets which pick, the intersection of that and B, which means that both those things have to happen. You just multiply the odds of A and B. So if we want, like, let's say we want the Flint Tropics to get first overall and the Sandlot team to get second overall, we just multiply those odds. Again, the Sandlot team, the second overall, you have to use the new sum of total points. If you wanted to say or, like Flint Tropics get first overall, or someone else gets first overall, what's the probability of those two? You take the two probabilities, you add them together, and you subtract the probability that they both happen, which isn't really 100% like the right formula to use, but it works. And then when we want to say probability per tier, we take the probability per team and multiply it by I of t, which is instances of the teams in each tier. Bang, bang. Okay. Now on the bottom, you see Q bar equals 1 minus Q. That's just saying that the probability of something not happening is just 1 minus probability of it happening. So let's say we want to say the probability of, the championship team, the Benchwarmers getting first overall is like 0.003%. Then the probability of Benchwarmers not getting first overall is 99.997%. Very easy. So let's take a quick quiz. You guys play at home. So what's the odds that the lottery is filled with tier 4 teams? So Yanni, all the non-playoff teams get the first overall pick. This one's the easy one. Okay, what do? You just multiply, like we said before, probability of the first one getting it. So you have the tier of this, so it's the 1600. So the whole tier 1 points combined divided by the 1662, and you get that, multiply that by the 1200 over 1262, and then finally 800 over 862, because you have to keep subtracting from the total. And you get 85-ish%, which is nice, not bad. Now let's say there's only one playoff team and the rest are the non-playoff teams, the shitty teams. And you're gonna be like, wait, doesn't it matter which playoff team it is? No, it doesn't fucking matter, because I did the math. Why? Because math says this. Math says that one playoff team is gonna be 14.32% chance. Very nice. Now let's say 2 or 3 playoff teams. So like, not just one guy snuck in, whatever it happens, but like 2 or 3, there are more playoff teams in the lottery than non-playoff teams. What do we think the odds are? I'll let you think about it. Bing, boom, boom. Yeah, it's less than 1%. So it's 100 total. minus the two things we just saw. Because if you think about it, it's either one playoff team, no playoff teams, or 2 or 3 playoff teams. There's no other scenario. So you could just subtract the previous odds from the new odds, bang. So that is just the percentage. And if you want to say, oh, you know, if you want to add the 2 to 3 to 1 playoff team, you can say any amount of playoff teams, you just add those together, and you get about 15.404%. So when I said over here, math equals 14.32%, and you're like, I don't believe this guy. Well, here's the math. Okay, so you take the probability of A, which is a non-playoff team making the lottery, B, the non-playoff team making the second pick in the lottery, and C, the reverse of a non-playoff team making the third pick. So you just take the Q4, so the probability of a shitty team, non-playoff tier 4 team getting first overall, times the probability of a tier 4 team getting second overall, assuming that the tier 4 team already won first overall, because remember we said that there's only one non-playoff team. And then multiply that by the total points of all the non-playoff teams. So the 62, which is everyone besides the tier 4 teams, multiply that probability, bing, bang, boom. Next, you do that again, but now we have Q4 times Q4 comma 4. So really, like, this is the probability of at least one non-playoff team getting in, but it's the same. It really is the same. Because if we wanted to force it at the end, we would have to put, oh, now we force a non-playoff team getting it. But, you know, it's good enough. And then we finally have that set builder notation, the intersect of D1, D2, and D3, which are the probabilities I assign to these 3 things happening. You add them up, subtract the doubles, add the triple back because of the intersections. I could explain it. It's not important though. More general odds quiz. What are the odds of a non-playoff team getting first overall pick? We have over here. So the shitty teams over the total this is any specific, not any specific team. It's just the general any non-playoff team. You have a 96.27% chance. So you subtract that, a playoff team getting first overall pick, it's not that bad. And we go back and you can see that you add them together and they make sense. Forgot where I put it, but whatever. Oh, here, right there, see? If you add those together, guess what you get? You get 100%, very nice. So that would happen, let's say 3.73% of the time, which would be once every 27 seasons. And you think that's a crazy number? Well, wait. So what's the odds at a championship team? So not just any playoff team, the team that either won or lost in the championship, what's the odds that they get the first overall pick? Yeah, it's once every 831 seasons. That's a lot, bro. A lot of seasons. Next, this is the code. It's not a long code, but it's a nice code. I kind of wrote it. Alex helped me write it, but it is what it is. Over here you see index equals df, index number of rows. So what it's doing on this, on the left side of your screen, is it's calling Excel sheet where I wrote in the odds, and it's saying, okay, I want Python to read this. This is the inputs. And then over there where it says print tab, that's the outputs. And over here in the middle where it says while len tab on like the bottom left, I don't know if it's backwards for you, but whatever. On the bottom left, that's where it actually does the math. Very nice. Okay. And then it prints the first 3 picks, and then it prints the rest of the picks in order. That was a very annoying thing to do. I don't know why I was so annoyed, but that's what it was. And this would be your output, right? So it would print me back just to double check. These are the odds you gave me, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's it. And then they'd be like, all right, so the first 3 picks were the Mighty Ducks, the replacements, and then the Flint Tropics. And then the rest, which is res, it just prints it in order. So LeBron was the shitty team, and then you have the Mud Dogs and the prison team, whereas the less shitty, and then that goes in order. And then it prints it in order. And then what I did was I took that, I ran that 25 times, and I printed it in, and I put it in a pie chart. Not a pie chart, what is this? This is a line chart. Okay, so over here you see after 25 trials, how many in the red got one of the top 3 picks, and then in the green was the top 1 pick. So like you could see that it kind of happens that Mud Dogs and Prison Team are going to be in the lottery because it makes sense. Remember, we said, we went back, you could get a playoff team. There's a 14% chance. So now if you take a 14% chance and you do 25 trials, you're going to happen about, 6 times. And we see here it happened, ooh, look, 4 times. So maybe it's not that bad. But one time the Mud Dogs, the one time they did make the lottery, so this green line is not an addition, it's just like a specific. So if you don't see the green bar, that means they made the lottery, they didn't make the first overall. But the Mud Dogs, the Water Boy, the one time they did make the lottery, they got the first overall. So like I said, happens every 27 years and happened once in 25 tries. So yeah, that's the lottery, bro. If you have questions, fuck you. Should have came to the zoo. All right. Peace. Surprised no one came, honestly. You know what? You learn. You'd be like, all right. People don't care. Maybe if I was actually drawing it, people would have showed up. Yeah. Peace.